All right, what's going on, guys? We are on lesson 1.2.11. So we are quickly approaching the end of unit 2. So we've been writing our painted essay. We wrote our introductory paragraph last one, and I told you how important that one is. And so we remember that our introduction here is red. Can I get the colors to come up? Yes, I can. That our introduction here was red. This might look more like an orange to you. That is okay. Every human being sees colors slightly different. This don't really look super red to me, but it looks kind of red. It's close enough. That focus statement, which is what's going to drive all of our writing, is green. And I'm going to stop here at this first one, which is point 1. So our point 1 is what inspired your poet. And so we're getting ready to write proof paragraph 1, and that's all going to be about point 1. So you're going to give the evidence and the reasons to support point 1. So point 1 is going to be about what inspired your poet. Okay? So that's going to be yellow. I want you to visually see that before we start talking about the writing, because there's always going to be at least one person who looks at me like I got 16 heads. So we're going to exit out of that. And let me pull you over here to the actual Canvas lesson. Why won't it leave? There we go. Exit full screen. All right. So let's look at 1.2.11. So our overview here, our learning targets, to be able to plan and write proof paragraph 1 for our essay and recognize and correct fragments and run-on sentences. We did a little practice with that in class. I am intentionally leaving it out because I want to keep this lesson as lean as possible. So go ahead and jot down that vocabulary. You need to learn what elaborate means, because we're going to ask you to elaborate in this proof paragraph. You need to avoid fragments. Those are sentences that are missing a verb or a subject. They're incomplete thoughts. Run-on sentences have too many subjects and thoughts, right? We need to kind of cut it down. And then related information is ideas about the same thing. Pause, write those down. See you in the next task. So we're going to hit next. There we go. Proof paragraph 1. All right. So proof paragraph 1. There are sentence frames, I should say, in page 62 of your textbook. But here, let's look at the directions step by step, because we struggle sometimes with multi-step directions. 1. Find the page where you wrote your introductory paragraph. You may have had that on a blank sheet of paper, on a separate sheet of paper, or you may have had it in your notebook. That's okay. Wherever it is, find it. Then we're just going to skip one line. And then we're going to begin writing our proof paragraph on the very next line. And so you need to prove point 1, right? So what inspired your poet? This is where you're going to drive that home. Now you can use the sentence frames in 62 of your textbook. 62 of your textbook. I'm going to pull it up here. 62, 62, 62. It's going to go back. All right? So your name, today's date. You're going to write the poet's name next to poet's name. Was inspired by. Tell me what they were inspired by. This inspired him or her because tell me why it inspired them. This shows, and we're going to kind of step into the last idea there, right? So you're going to tidy up your ideas there. So that's the one in the book. You can use that one. I also have written one here, which is a little bit more detailed. So name of your poet, Walter Dean Myers, Robert Frost, Valerie Worth, was inspired by. Tell me what they were inspired by. They were inspired by this because. Tell me why they were inspired by it. So this matters because, right, Robert Frost, born in California, but moved out to New England, Massachusetts, when he was 11 years old. So why was New England such a big deal for him? Well, because it wasn't what he was born into, and it was very sudden, and it came after his father died. Why is Walter Dean Myers inspired by the people around him? Well, he happens to live in one of the most densely populated places in the world, Harlem, New York. There are a lot of people, a lot of diverse people, a lot of different people, so he tends to be inspired by the people around him, right? Valerie Worth is inspired by small things. That matters because her dad was a biologist, and he spent time looking at things really close on a nice micro level, so she wound up doing that with her poetry, and he even wrote poetry on top of that. So why did that inspire them? And I threw in a final sentence here. This shows that people can be inspired by many different things, right? So 3 sentences. We're just proving that first point. Mi amigos que no hablas español, you can use the same thing and just fill in the blanks, right? Fill in those blanks and copy that down that you have your proof paragraph. I know this is challenging for some of us, but we need to get into that habit of writing proof paragraphs. So this lesson is tight. There's not a lot to it. Vocabulary, proof paragraph. 100 points, you get one thing, you get 50. If you get both, you get 100. Then we can move on to 1.2.12. So go ahead, lock in, focus. I know you can do it. Until the next lesson, peace.